Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 5 of the Dateable AF podcast. Today, we are talking about the fear of being seen versus the fear of being left, and why you abandon yourself before anyone else can. So, I think, Rachel, the core tension here is that we as humans want to be fully known in all of our relationships, and we also don't want to be rejected. So if I show you who I really am, then you might leave me. But if I hide, I'm going to stay, but I won't really be me. So this episode is not really about insecurity, but it is about attachment survival.
Yeah, it is. I think this topic is hard because it is to be seen is what we all desire. You crave it. And when you're really seen, that's when you feel your best. At the same time, to do it is one of the scariest things to do. In a relationship. And so, I mean, when you think about what being seen actually means, one of the things that I picked up, I read in Psychology Today about this topic, and I really liked it because I think it's good to ponder. I think our audience should think about it a little bit. It said, familiar and comfortable are not the same thing as healthy and safe.
I like that.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when you read that quote?
Well, I'm thinking that as we talk about being seen, I believe that a lot of people equate that with being comfortable. That person, I'm familiar with you. We have routines, and when I come home, I get a beer and you're watching the sports or whatever the thing is, all those things that supposedly the lesbians do.
Just to be clear, what I do at night for sure.
Just to be clear, I don't do any of those things.
But some lesbians we know might do.
Probably why I don't have a girlfriend. Another reason why I don't have a girlfriend.
Maybe you need to drink more beer and watch more sports.
I can't have it. Nope. But to that point, that being comfortable isn't the same thing as being seen.
Yeah. And to go with your quote, I also know that being comfortable isn't always being healthy.
Right.
Because you might be comfortable walking on eggshells around someone because that's what you've always done, but that's definitely not a healthy relationship pattern.
And I mean, I also think that I'm going to drag it right back around. I'm going to go ahead and drag it right in the dirt now. Let's just get there.
Oh, God, I always get scared when she says things like this.
I'm feeling frisky today. So I think we can also connect it sometimes to lesbians' lack of sexual intimacy, otherwise known as LBD.
Lesbian bed death.
Yes. And that there's the difference between, you getting so comfortable that you're not creating, I think if we're really ourselves, there's always going to be some dynamic tension, of, I don't want to do this. I actually want to do that. I don't necessarily want to do that with you. So being honest. And I think a lot of times we just go along to keep things comfortable. And then it takes away that dynamic tension.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I also hate to tell you, but lesbians don't corner the market on that. Heterosexuals have bed death as well for that same reason.
They do. I was actually discussing that with some hetero friends of mine. They're like, "Oh hell no!" And it's especially don't do that thing you're talking about. No, we don't do that at all.
Yep, exactly right. So you get these comfortable, familiar patterns, but you're not truly being yourself, and it's not necessarily a healthy relationship dynamic when you get in those ruts.
Yeah, I think people believe that maybe it's healthy, and it's not to say, this is why this topic is hard, because you also don't want to be in a relationship that constantly keeps you anxious.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I think, I think, more than I do. Like, how do you tell the difference between when it's too much and not enough?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think we should start off by talking about what being seen actually means. And I think for me, it means being able to have your real feelings, being able to let someone know what your needs are, being able to set limits with someone, and being true to yourself in those ways. And that can be risky.
Relationships are risky.
Yep.
I've had a few.
A few risky ones or a few relationships?
I've had a few Monique and Veronica's.
You have had just a
Mhm.
couple.
Yeah.
So, but it's risky to be seen because what if someone disagrees with you? Or what if someone doesn't like it? That you're setting a limit or that you're making your needs known. And at the end of the day, the biggest fear is what if someone leaves us? And this isn't just in a romantic relationship. This could be a friendship, someone that abandons you in a friendship. And so I think at the end of the day, being seen really means giving someone the power to decide if they still want you. And that can be really vulnerable.
Very vulnerable. And I like the idea of bringing out the point that you're being vulnerable like that is the way that you get to the pinnacle of a really great relationship versus not really exposing yourself for fear of losing something
Yeah.
and then staying in mediocrity. And that is I'm hearing that so much with people that are trying to date out there. I hear them making all sorts of excuses
Hmm.
about stuff that they are willing to tolerate. And I know that at the end of the day, if they're ever going to be themselves, if they're that either they're going to be in a mediocre relationship and they're not really going to have their true lives, they'll be living a false narrative.
Yeah.
Or
Yep. And there's some lack of satisfaction, I think, when you don't feel like you're really seen. You don't feel like someone really gets you. I don't necessarily think that at the end of the day that's going to fulfill what you're trying to fulfill.
I wonder if, well, and you're right. This one's definitely easily spans all different types of relationships. We
Yep.
think about it as with our friends, with our parents. I mean, I have watched people. I've had some people very, very important to me that I've known for many years that were terrified, so terrified of the rejection that their parents, whom are now dead, never knew them in
Yep.
all the really authentic ways.
Yeah. I think that happens a lot. And I think it can happen in friendships too. That if your friends really know you, you might be afraid that they wouldn't like you or they wouldn't leave. I think there are if one way that I assess this sometimes with clients is by asking them to identify what their secrets are, because your secrets are typically the things you carry shame about. And if you're not talking about those things, then you're not fully allowing yourself to be seen.
And it's okay to have some secrets, right?
I'm not judging whether it's okay to have them or not okay to have them. I'm just saying, if you look at your own secrets and the things that you're like, no, I would never tell anyone that, it's probably something you feel shame about, or you're afraid if people knew it about you, they would not accept you.
Don't you think that we also, as you get deeper into a relationship and the closer you get to somebody, that those things that you carry shame around are also things that you tend to act out around? And if the
Yes.
person does not know why you're triggered, like what's going on, because they don't know you, then they don't have the ability to empathize with you or be with you in the healthiest ways.
Yes, 100%. And I think sometimes those triggers center around being left. Like I said, it's this feeling that if you really know me, you're going to leave me. You're not going to want to be my friend, or you're not going to want to be my partner, or maybe you don't even want that parental relationship if you're my parent. And I think that those they activate the fear of abandonment. They activate what I call worthiness wounds, that
Mm.
maybe I'm not really worthy of this relationship. And I think it just can set people's nervous systems into kind of a panic. And often it's not even really about the present moment or this person that you're currently with. It's about old losses being reactivated. So, and I think sometimes our nervous systems don't really know the difference between then and now. Is this an old wound that's getting activated, or is this something about me and this person in this situation?
I've never heard that terminology before.
The worthiness wounds.
Right.
Yeah. That's anything that's happened in the past that makes us feel unworthy of someone's love or unworthy of someone's care.
Well, thinking about sort of this how self-abandonment happens,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit about what that looks like. I mean, not saying what you feel is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And these can be tiny things, y'all. It doesn't have to be, I'm getting on a grandstand and, telling you all my feelings, but it can just be something as simple as, how do you feel about going to Matt's for Mexican food tonight? If I don't want to go, but I'm not saying that, then I'm abandoning a little part of myself. So these don't have to be big things, but just noticing ways that you're not speaking up or not letting someone know how you feel about things.
Did you not want to go to Matt's the other night with me and Joe?
I love Matt's. I love Matt's. For those of you who are not from Austin, we're talking about Matt's El Rancho, which is one of the iconic Austin Mexican food restaurants.
Yes, and after we crawled out of the Arctic tundra, we were all dying for someone else to cook for us out of some other kitchen at somebody else's place.
We needed to see humans again after Austin was just living through ice apocalypse. If y'all don't know about this, we were trapped in our homes for 3 days. It was terrible.
I went out the other day because my back steps wouldn't thaw. My poor little dog, she couldn't go in the backyard to go potty because she kept sliding all over the
right. And the grass was all pokey because it was frozen.
Oh, I was hurting her little paws. It was just terrible over here. I got my knife out and I hacked away with my kitchen knife to get all that.
It wasn't one of your good knives.
It was not one of my good knives. But as I was doing it, I thought, oh God, if people from Michigan saw me right now, they would look at me and just shake their head like, girl, what are you doing with that?
I know. We are ridiculous here in Texas. It drops below 32 and we don't know what to do. Well, I had to get a shovel and tunnel out our friend who lives in our back house, Kitty. She was frozen down there. She couldn't get out. So I had to take a shovel and go all the way down, chop up all that ice so she could leave the house. Thank God she didn't have an emergency.
Slip sliding away.
Yeah, it was serious. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah, we do. Only other thing I'll say about that is every time I walked outside with my dog, I always took my phone because I thought at any moment I might slip and break a hip and I would need to be able to call 911.
Exactly. And you probably have that thing where if your phone drops quickly, it'll say, Are you okay? We're going to call 911 for you. Okay. Oh, all right. What are some other ways that self-abandonment happens besides not saying what you feel?
Well, minimizing your needs. And that's, I mean, I do think, especially when people are first meeting, they tend to really either agree to things they don't want to do, minimize what they would really like, just to get along, right? And I mean, yes, you say yes to some things. You don't have to be overly picky, but at some point you got to, show up.
You got to speak up. I have a very important example of this, that Joe and I have about 5,000 pillows on our bed, and the big ones have zippers on them because, they're pillow shams. And Joe does not pay attention to where the zippers go when she puts the pillows on the bed. And I have been swallowing this for weeks now. And the other day I had to let my needs be known that I need her to put the zippers on the bottom when she puts the pillows on the bed. I have been abandoning myself for weeks.
Did you get a cut or something from the zipper?
No, it just looks bad. If you could see the zippers on the top or the sides, nobody wants that. You got to hide those zippers on the bottom.
So you expressed your need.
I did.
I'll be curious to see how that works out for
Yeah,
you.
she probably rolled her eyes at me and then put the zippers on the side. But at least I was not abandoning myself.
That's true. You said it. Even if you can't have it, you said it.
Exactly. Most importantly. So I think another way that we tend to abandon ourselves sometimes is agreeing with something when we don't really agree, whether that's an opinion about something or like my example about going to a restaurant, that we agree to do things, or we agree that we like something, or we agree that something's our opinion when it's not really, because we're afraid if we say what is true, the person might not like it.
We need to spend a minute on this one.
Okay.
Because agreeing there's a very big difference between being a good conversationalist or asking questions. If somebody says something you don't agree, you might say, you're good at this. You'll say, so tell me more about that. Or I've never noticed that before. Why does that bother you so much? Or something like that. That to me, and you can in that say, that's something that I never noticed, and so it doesn't really bother me. But I have a few what I call chippy friends.
I met some of your chippy friends.
And if I say, well, I just love the color of that green tree, and you say to me, well, it's not really green. It's like more of like a forest green. Yeah, I want to just throat punch you. Is that necessary, really?
I don't feel that that's exactly the issue that we're talking about, that you're not abandoning yourself if you challenge the color of green someone, if you refuse to challenge the color of green. And like you said, if you say, I really love that color of green and I don't like it, I don't have to say, ooh, I hate that color. That's not what we're talking about here. We're like, oh, you like that color? That's different than saying me too. If I don't like it and I say me too, then I'm abandoning myself. But if I argue for the sake of arguing, no, that's chippy.
It is chippy. So for those of you that are chippy out there, and I have a friend, we'll just call her Monique. She's not girlfriend, but that her grandmother taught her good language. And it's just, especially if you're eating something you don't like, it's not my favorite, or I don't particularly care for that. Yeah. Instead of going, oh my God, I hate yellow squash. I really do.
But we don't say that at the dinner table.
I might say it if you cook it for me. Yeah.
Bad manners.
I know. Well,
but if you are a chippy person who feels like you need to argue with everything, that is not what we're talking about today. We are talking about not pretending to agree with something, but that does not equate with being argumentative.
And then the idea of staying when it hurts. Whoa. Game on. Because I do think a lot of potentially good relationships get lost just because of that.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's not going to be sustainable, or it's not going to be sustainably happy. If you're staying in a relationship, even when it hurts, and I'm talking about long-term, I'm not talking about your feelings got hurt one afternoon or something, but if you're staying in a relationship that perpetually hurts you, you're not going to be able to get happy in that situation. So you are abandoning yourself for sure.
Right. And the opposite side of that, I think, is staying in and not leaving just because somebody doesn't share all the same likes and dislikes with you.
Yes. 100%. Like, you can have different opinions about things and like different things and still be in a happy relationship. But if you try to become easy to love, I see this happening a lot, that if someone expresses their disapproval, then you toe the line all of a sudden so that you're more, so that you're easier to love. And it's like, no, that's abandoning yourself. Like, let someone else be unhappy with you. That's not the same as being unkind or being mean, but yeah, don't try to make yourself easy to love. The right people will love you for who you are.
You think that's our problem, Sarah?
You mean you and me? Or is this our problem collectively, like as a society, or
No,
on this podcast?
me and you and other people.
I mean, I personally feel that I am very easy to love. I don't even have to try.
Mhm.
Mhm. Totally typical. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe our problem is that we're not easy enough. We don't try hard enough to be easy to love.
that's it is our problem, but you hang around long enough, you sort of become endeared to us in some odd
Exactly.
way.
If you're not endeared to us by season 3, just keep listening. It's going to happen.
It should be by season. Sometimes it takes 3 seasons.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. I think that people do these things, these self-abandonment behaviors, because there's this subconscious belief that if I leave myself first, it won't hurt as much as if you leave me. So I would rather abandon myself and be someone that you can love than take a chance on you leaving me. And I mean, it's not true, of course, but I think it's one of the motivators for our behavior.
Hmm. That's interesting, and it kills. Why? It seems fairly obvious that it would be hard to maintain intimacy in that scenario.
Yeah. Any kind of emotional intimacy is not truly happening if you're not being seen. I mean, you're staying in the relationship or the friendship or the family connection, but you're not really there. In your example, I don't think you said it like this, but I think what you were intimating was like kiddos who don't come out to their parents about being gay because they're afraid their parents are going to reject them. Your parents don't really know you. So the you that they're not rejecting isn't really you. So
Hmm.
you're never getting that real satisfaction.
Yeah, it's true, and I was just thinking about this. It made me think about a little bit about the dating scene and how I think so many people are not comfortable exposing themselves. They're
Mhm.
not that it's like taking a chisel, to kind of knock the stone off to find out what's underneath there.
Yeah.
And it really is. I think eventually, I wonder, like, are you planning to stay enshrined in this stone? Because eventually, how miserable is that? Or eventually that has to come off.
Yeah.
And
I
then do
mean,
you do that 6 years down the road or something?
yeah.
The grand reveal?
Whew. Yeah, that doesn't seem good. And I mean, I think, yeah, at worst, it's miserable. At best, it's completely unsatisfying because you're never really known. You're never really seen. That, people are only knowing sort of the edited version of you or the most pleasant version of you, that version of you that avoids conflict.
I think this comes up in money stuff too. So I'm thinking about it.
Say more.
I think when you're first developing, and I'm thinking about dating in particular, or just forming maybe a relationship with someone, a potential intimate relationship, trying to decide how you expose money, your feelings about it, your haves and have-nots,
Mhm.
all of that can be pretty dicey, and especially for people who just really keep that close to their vest.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Money
yeah.
can be so vulnerable. And I've seen it on both sides. I've seen people who feel really vulnerable because they don't have enough and they're afraid of exposing that. Like I should be farther along than I am right now. And that feels really scary to let someone know that. And I've seen the other side too, people who didn't want others to know how much they have because they're afraid that people will only want to be close to them because they have money. And so I think there can be a lot of vulnerability around that issue.
This could come up too when you're traveling with friends, doing things where you're booking trips together, and having to be open about what feels comfortable
Yeah.
financially as you plan things.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I have experienced that too, being being with people who had more means than I have, and, things to them that seemed really normal, staying in $1,000 a night hotel room was just the norm for them. And has not been the norm for me. So, that is not something that I can do every night of a vacation. And it feels scary to say that.
Actually, this is a great example of the way people sometimes make choices when they don't talk about it. So,
Yeah.
You think about that. When you first meet somebody, you're excited, you're going to hang out, and then you guys play, you travel together. And you go, shit, that's expensive, but I can do it this one time. So I'm not going to say anything, right? So I'm going to go, and you chunk out that $1,000 a night. You don't really tell them that that's beyond what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And then you want to go again. Well, they don't know that it was uncomfortable. You didn't tell them.
Right.
So that, here you are. Now you're at a crossroad. You're going to go, are you going to suck it up a second time? Or
no, you're just going to lie and say, I'm busy that week.
Exactly.
I can't go.
Exactly. There you go. It's that then they're left thinking you don't want to hang with them.
Yep.
It's all creates so many falsehoods.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that can go on a much smaller scale too, even like picking a restaurant to go eat with friends or to go on a date. Maybe it's a restaurant that you feel perfectly comfortable affording and the other person doesn't feel that comfortable. So having conversations about that is really imperative. You can't pretend in those situations because it doesn't really help.
Yeah. And some people are natural pleasers.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. I'm not.
You're a rabble rouser.
Oh boy, I wish I could tell y'all what we were laughing about before this podcast kicked on.
I know, but we can't. We got in trouble. We have gotten in trouble for bringing up things that might have felt too personal to other people. So we're trying to watch our P's and Q's over here a little bit more. But I was just being vulnerable and saying that sometimes I might not feel bad about someone's misfortune if that person has wronged me in some way.
and
I don't actively wish for their misfortune, but when it does happen, I might not be that sad about it sometimes. Well, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
Let's just say that because I do know Dr. Kyle really well. She was trying to give me that face. I'm going, girl, don't act like you.
Don't act like you care.
I get right through that.
I was trying to give you my therapist sympathy face, like, oh, that's too bad. Anyway, but moving right along, let's talk about what actually does build safety in these situations.
Well, honesty, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. And if something feels scary and vulnerable, that's a part of the honesty, is to say, man, I want to tell you this and I feel scared that you're going to not want to hang out with me if I tell you this. So yeah, just not hiding from the truth.
Consistency is a big one as well.
Yep. Yeah. When you show up consistently and when you consistently are willing to show yourself, I think that really helps build safety in a relationship.
I do believe that when someone continuing to show up is very powerful.
Yes, absolutely. And while you're showing up, setting appropriate boundaries. If someone always says yes to you, you don't trust that they'll say no when they mean it. This actually reminds me of a mutual friend of ours. We'll call her Monique. She is like, when we are at her house, she's very clear about saying, yes, I need help with this, or no, I don't need help with that, or yes, you can cook tonight, or you can do this. But she also says no. And so it makes her feel very trustworthy. It makes me feel very safe with this person because she's not just going to smile and say yes when she doesn't mean yes.
It's very true. I feel exactly the same way. And I listen when she says no.
Yeah.
Because
for sure.
I know that, it's never a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, when she says no, she's a very thoughtful person. There's a reason why she's saying no.
Yes. Absolutely. And so just remember that when you set boundaries, when you say no to things, it doesn't make people feel less safe around you. It makes them feel more safe around you. So I think the key really is taking emotional risks in small doses. So you don't need to overwhelm yourself by, you know, bearing every single secret you have right away. But I think just challenging yourself to speak up honestly, to talk about your feelings, to talk about your needs, and see how the other person reacts. Because if it's someone that doesn't react well to you having feelings or needs, that's probably not someone you're going to want to be in your inner circle.
Lop them off.
Lop them off.
Not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the truth is, you don't have to be palatable to be lovable. You are lovable exactly as you are. And you'll find your people, and your people will love you for who you are.
Very true. Yeah. And so, what do you think some takeaways on this episode are?
I think the first takeaway I would like folks to get from this episode is that being seen is the price of real intimacy. Allowing yourself to be vulnerable and be seen and heard is how you get to that deeper place in a relationship.
And being chosen while hiding is emotional loneliness. So just remember that if someone picks you but they don't really know you, you're going to be lonely inside.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. You're never going to find that fulfillment if someone doesn't know who you really are. I think sometimes self-abandonment might feel protective because you're too afraid to put yourself out there, but what it costs you is that real connection.
And you don't have to disappear to stay loved. Again, just you're worthy of it, and you should be worthy of it based on your true merits of who you are.
Absolutely. If you listeners want to talk about this more with the people in your life, the question that I would love for you to ask yourself and your people is, where do you notice yourself editing? Where do you notice yourself shrinking? Or where do you notice yourself even softening just to keep someone else close, as opposed to being who you really are? So think about that for yourself. Ask some folks in your life that, and we would love for you to let us know what you hear back. We want to hear from you. It makes us super happy when we get your emails, when we get your texts, when we get your DMs. So feel free to email us. We are info@dateableaf.com. And on Instagram, we are at Dateable AF. So please keep in touch and share this pod with your people. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Dateable AF podcast, where we help you find your happy ending.
And remember, be bold, be kind, and for the love of self-respect, don't text your ex. Stay dateable.
AF.